Let me start with a short context. I've spent a large part of my career running and leading consulting organizations. That means being accountable not just for delivery, but for profitability, capacity, and long-term sustainability. I've been wrong more than once, especially early on, where optimism quietly replaced visibility. The perspective I'm sharing here comes from those experiences, not from theory and not from trying to be right, but from living with the consequences of real decisions. With that context, let's talk about project management, more specifically, project economics. Most consulting firms manage projects. Very few manage project economics while decisions are being made. That difference matters more than most leaders realize. When we talk about project management, we usually talk about execution, milestones, deliverables, deadlines, resources, all important. But here is the uncomfortable reality I have seen repeatedly. By the time leadership truly sees the project economics, the decisions that shape those economics have already been made, often long ago. In many cases, the problems do not start during the project. They start before the project even begins. We commit to a scope. We accept a price. We assume a certain allocation of people. We are optimistic about utilization, efficiency, and change, not because we are careless, but because we lack real visibility at that point. And once the project is running, it only becomes harder. What follows is familiar. A small change is accepted, a discount feels reasonable, extra work is absorbed to keep the client satisfied. Scope grows, but the commercial discussion does not. None of these decisions feel significant in isolation. Together, they quietly erode margin. Not because people fail, but because commercial decisions are made without real economic signals. This is where many leadership teams overestimate their level of control. They believe they understand their project economics. In practice, it is often based on simplified assumptions. Assumptions about hourly cost, assumptions about utilization, and assumptions about operating expenses. Assumptions are not data, and without a deep understanding of what drives them, they are often misleading. In practice, very few organizations can maintain that level of clarity. Most project management systems were never designed to address this. They support execution, not leadership decisions based on real economics. Typically, they rely on standard rates instead of real cost per person, simplified views of utilization, limited or no connection to operating expenses. What they provide is a project view, not a business view. If hourly rates are disconnected from real cost and utilization, project economics become theoretical. This is why many firms only discover the outcome at the end. The project is delivered, the client is satisfied, and finance later confirms that the margin is lower than expected. At that point, nothing can be changed. If you only see project economics after delivery, you are managing too late. This is not a criticism. It is a leadership blind spot, common in many consulting firms, especially growing ones. Responsibility may sit with business development, project managers, or leadership teams, but the consequence always lands in the same place, on the business, and ultimately on the owners. The question is not whether every assumption can be removed. That is unrealistic. The real question is whether leaders choose to operate with fewer assumptions and earlier, more realistic visibility. Not perfect data, but better signals earlier. That is what enables conscious commercial decisions, rather than optimistic ones. Ignoring this is also a decision. It is a decision to accept that project economics are only visible after the fact, and that margin erosion is discovered, not managed. Serious firms don't manage this perfectly, but they do choose to manage it consciously. If you'd like to see how this works in day-to-day operations, we regularly host short webinars and one-to-one discussions. Feel free to reach out to me directly on WhatsApp, +63 917 504 2507.